And that was when I stared at you eye to eye that you didn't like it and that I didn't know if I could work with you anymore. Hi, I'm John,
I'm David,
and this is Creators Conversations. My name is John Cleary. I'm from New York. I joined Epidemic back in February of 2018 in the sexy position of music talent acquisition. My background prior to that was pretty much every aspect of the music industry. At a young age, kind of fell in love with music from video games and movies, and knew that was what I wanted to do. And then eventually decided I would go to school for it, and then discovered hip hop and was able to work with legends in hip hop like DJ Premier. And from there explored every aspect of the music industry that I could, and tried to prepare myself for any opportunities that would come.
My name is David Slitsky. I grew up in Massachusetts and was living in New York for 5.5 years before moving to Stockholm, Sweden to work with Epidemic. I am a Grammy-nominated audio engineer. I've done some record production. I've done some mixing. I've been a freelance A&R consultant. I've grew up playing drums. I've done just about anything you can do when it comes to making, producing, and packaging and promoting music. And I love every last bit of it. Just gonna do the annoying part where I rattle off all the different artists that I work with that people might know, which everyone hates doing, but here we go, gonna do it anyways. The Roots, Usher, D'Angelo, Travis Scott, Chad Smith, Corinne Bailey Ray, Ray Angry, Helen Sung, Ambrose Akamushiri, Derek Hodge. Who else? Did I say Travis Scott already? Travis Scott. I've always been impressed by who you've worked with before, John. And it's just like such a crazy list of names too, if you think about it, from someone like DJ Premier, who is literally at the foundation of hip hop, all the way up to the Joey Badasses and the Nick Cautions and like the really next level, like cutting edge of hip hop. Like you've been able to like really have that whole spectrum of back and forth. That's always been like super impressive to me.
Yeah, I mean, and you know me, it's the New Yorkness that I love, right? Being able to learn from Preem, who more or less developed East Coast hip hop, even though he's from Houston, and then being able to come up with people like Nick, who you know, we're the same age, we're both from New York, we're both living in South Brooklyn at the time, and just were able to make music together in the way that I almost imagine that Primo was making music with the greats back in the 80s and 90s. The first thing, you know, or not, probably not the first thing, but probably like the third thing you mentioned to me was your background with the Roots. And, you know, that name carries so much weight.
Yeah, like being in that crew for the time that I got to spend with them was really amazing. And like the fact that we did end up with that feeling where like I did feel like they were all my big brothers, and like they were able to like, you know, put me in situations creatively that like I shouldn't have been in, but because we got along and because I was able to kind of know it, because I was prepared for the moment, it was great.
For musicians, Epidemic is an interesting place because it represents, I guess, what we like to call the next generation of the music industry. It's a company built to service music digitally and to provide music at a scale that is pretty unmatched. So when we approach musicians to work with them, we start with the fact that we're able to expose them to an audience pretty much larger than they could ever be exposed to in any other way, right? Like, you know, millions and millions of people can experience their music on YouTube, in sync, etc., and can discover them in that way. I remember calling this guy Gustav, Gus Isaacson, based out of the Pacific Northwest, and getting on a phone with him, and it was one of the first times I was able to pitch Epidemic to a person. And I don't remember much about the call, but I remember how appreciative and interested he was, right? To get a call from what he would perceive as a label was significant. And we were, you know, we quickly realized that we had the capacity to, I don't know, help these musicians develop, help change their lives, help get them paid, and it was really rewarding.
I mean, when I came out of grad school and went back to freelance, Like I was really trying to bide my time to like what is the right fit, like at a music company, like a label or a publisher or production company or whatever you have it. Like that was gonna really pull me away from, being a studio rat and like being around like my clients all the time and being around the studios all the time. And I think like that opportunity to build a roster from scratch was the biggest thing for me. And I think it was only complemented by the fact that, the way Epidemic works, like you were saying, John, is so disruptive in how we promote music and how we market music and how we're able to compensate even more fairly for music. Like those were all things that to me, like these unique, like USPs, like these unique things made the offer like so great to work with. And then it just became like this great creative opportunity for the two of us to really like take something and like build a team, build like this creative family of musicians and producers and artists. And that to me was like the big thing that made me want to come in.
What I think really helped us kind of change things and push ourselves forward were artists that forced us to improve our offering over the duration of their working with us, right? Like when we brought on H Deep and Dope, it was like he expected more from us, right? He wanted to use a picture of himself in the artwork. He wanted to be explicit on his records and his artwork. He wanted like all of the stuff that we had never thought about needing to have those conversations, but he kind of forced us to. And we did, and we were able to develop a better offering because of the challenges that he set for us. And at the end of the day, he released really good music because we were able to make those concessions. And working with all the artists we do now kind of wouldn't be the same if we hadn't been through that with someone who demanded more from us.
I'm active. If he never heard of Ben Dope, he just napping.
I mean, I think it's the same. I think of the same thing like when I think of like Sarah the Instrumentalist and how she works in EPs like in such a strong way, like probably stronger than any other artist that I've worked with before. Like her thinking around a project and how she's putting songs together and then how that relates to what she's titling them and then what she expects from the artwork. It's like a way of thinking that I hadn't been around before, and it's something that I don't think a lot of people have, again, just been able to experience, is working with someone with like a really clear vision, which in theory like makes life a lot easier. We just needed to, at the time, like make sure that we were able to communicate her vision to people who don't come from music at sometimes. Like people in other creative industries or other like business entities that and we needed to learn how to articulate like why this is a great thing. And I think like that's like a lesson like I'm really, really happy about. And I think like something that we were able to do to really, like you're saying, like push Epidemic one kind of step further.
I'm making beats for Epidemic Sound, and I'm making instrumentals, and it is lovely. It is a dream come true because I get to make. It's a dream come true because I get paid to be me.
Looking forward, things are exciting, and for me, where we're going is I mean obviously up, but at the same time, I'm looking forward to exploring how our musicians and our music fuels that growth.
Yeah, that growth is I think what I'm most excited about. I mean, to do what we do with our artists, but with more of them. Like I think we're really on to something great in terms of how we work with creators, how we promote music, how we provide financial stability. I mean, how we soundtrack the internet and soundtrack the world. And I just want as many people to be a part of that as possible. And I think that's what I'm most excited about in my gig, is like to really find those sweet spots for us to be able to provide like long-term creative support to people. I mean, that's what keeps me up at night. That's what gets me up in the morning. I mean, I'm excited for all of them. Like, I mean, we talked about Dylan Sitz already, who I think has grown leaps and bounds. He is Dylan Sitz the God, even though he'll never admit it. I mean, Sarah the Instrumentalist just like grows in her artistry like with every passing month. Tilden Park coming out with bangers. You know, Xavier Roussan with heater after heater. Panda Raps like literally inventing new styles of hip hop on the fly.
When we want to soundtrack the world, the music has to be like really fucking good. And it's awesome that the music is really good. Like, and it's propelled by artists who put their vision central and team members that support those artists.
100%.